Well, we finally got some backing on our opinion about drugs that boost memory in healthy children. And American neurologists agree, finally, that prescribing drugs to boost cognitive function and memory in healthy children is misguided. So what took so long, and what about the ADD and the ADHD?
Boy, sometimes it's just amazing at what you see happening in the world. And medicine is certainly no exception. When you look at all these drugs that are used to treat kids for ADD and ADHD, they are so overused. And now, I mean, parents have been using these drugs to try and help children do better in their scoring on tests. It's like it improves cognitive function and concentration a little bit.
So let's just drug them.
Well, that's basically what they're saying. And so finally this article comes out, okay, the American Academy of Neurology comes out in the March 13th, or the March of 2013 issue of a journal called Neurology, saying that they think they made a mistake when they were allowing this to be prescribed by doctors for improving attention in kids that don't have any problems like ADD and ADHD.
But you know what else is, even with children that do have problems with ADD and ADHD, it's way overdiagnosed. And many times they don't diagnose them with their clinical findings. So I just think it would be good to go over what the clinical findings are.
Well, that's really a good point, and I agree with you. There are a lot of things. You know, the kids that are in school, very often the teachers find them not concentrating well, and they're having outbursts, and they're hard to control. And the parents don't like it when the teachers are telling them that their kids aren't doing well, and the doctors want to try and do something to help. And so the next thing you know is these kids are all taking drugs, and probably 5% of the kids in schools now are taking ADHD drugs, and that's a problem.
The other thing is that they're not testing them for night blindness and for dry skin and for being uncoordinated and having trouble catching a ball. Those are symptoms of ADD and ADHD also.
Well, that's right.
And then there are other ways to examine them, to do these spect scans and the MRIs, and what else do they use to test them?
Well, there are some biological tests that can be too, some biochemical tests, Vicki. And one of the ones I like is doing an essential fatty acid profile. And what that means is we look at the ratios of the different kinds of essential fatty acids, the omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids that we have, because in many children who have ADD and ADHD, they can't metabolize them, meaning that they eat plenty of essential fatty acids in seeds and nuts, but they can't process them because they don't have the enzymes to create the products that they need to keep them from getting these symptoms you were talking about with the night blindness and dyspraxia, where they can't catch a ball, and the dyslexia, and they've got dry skin and concentrated urine, because the waterproofing of the skin comes from essential fatty acids too. So we have to take a harder look at what we're doing here.
And also, with the essential fatty acids, there's no downside to those. Those are just like healthy things to take anyway. Well, they're good for our brain. They feed our brain cells and everything.
Right. Well, if you don't have those, you can't be healthy. Fact is, you'd be dead, and your body can't make them, so you have to eat them. And good sources are flaxseed oil, a whole bunch of seeds and nuts besides that. Fish oil is a good way. Krill oil is a good way to get some of them. Evening primrose oil. There are many different ways to get healthy ratios of omega-3 and omega-6 fats that are important.
Well, also what's surprising is that long-term health effects haven't even been studied in children.
Right, who are taking these drugs.
Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, for them to come out and say it's not a good idea to take these drugs for enhancing your memory and making you concentrate better so you can do better on a test is one thing. But to go on ahead and look at it from the point of view of applying it to ADD and ADHD is another thing, and they need to do that. Well, if they don't have the research in one, I mean, they're not really going to have the research in the others either, are they?
No. And then also, what about just checking the kids to see if maybe they're not concentrating or their memory's not so great because of other factors? Like, are they having problems at home? What are their study habits like? What's their diet like? Are they getting enough exercise? Do they have too much stress? All those things should be considered before turning to drugs, because these drugs can be addictive and have some side effects that you don't really want.
Oh, I know. I've got one patient who now has been on this, and he's on Medicare. Okay, so he's been on these a long time, and he can't get off of them. As soon as I try to taper him off the drugs, he winds up with fatigue, and he can't get out of bed, and he's obviously addicted to it. His whole biochemistry is addicted to it. And in addition, he's got a problem of atrial fibrillation, which is probably caused by these drugs. So this is not a small thing, Vicki. We need to go back, and it's great that the American Academy of Neurology is finally awakened and realizes that drugs aren't the answer for everything.
And also, many times people just put their children on these drugs because the teacher suggests it, because maybe the child's disruptive in class,
Sure.
which it's going to make the teacher's job a little bit easier. The doctors just kind of go along with it without doing all these clinical studies that we were talking about. Yeah, they just kind of go along with it. And then, of course, the pharmaceutical companies and the drug reps talk to the doctors and encourage them to prescribe these drugs. Talk about what happened at Harvard with that Dr. Joseph Biederman.
Oh, that's a terrible story. This is a pediatrician, a pediatric psychologist at Harvard who was in cahoots with the pharmaceutical industry and got a lot of money from them to even build a center. He was trying to say that these kids that have ADD and ADHD really have manic depressive psychosis or a form of it. And when everybody found out all the conflicts of interest that were involved, he got into a lot of trouble, which he should have, of course. So we've got to wake up, and we got to take more responsibility for the kinds of things that we're doing in healthcare when it comes to helping our children, because we're not helping them by drugging them.
Yeah, you need to reevaluate that. How important is it that your kids get good grades? Is it worth their health?
Well, that's right.
You know, to give a kid a drug before they take a test so that they'll do better. And then what happens is that the children are also tempted to give them to their friends and to sell
they share
them. And
they share them for sure. So we need to be more thoughtful about listening and caring. We need to take time to find out what's really happening with these kids. A lot of them, as Vicki was alluding to earlier, it's because they have family lives that are so dysfunctional that they have a lot of problems. And the quick, easy fix is not the right answer. So congratulations, finally, to the American Academy of Neurology. Better late than never.